Have you ever wondered how hackers, cybersecurity professionals, and Linux power users control their computers with just a few lines of text? Well, it starts with something called the terminal. The terminal is a powerful command line interface that allows you to communicate directly with your operating system without clicking buttons or opening menus. And today, I'm going to show you the top 10 must-know Linux commands every beginner needs to know. Whether you are a cybersecurity student, aspiring ethical hacker, system administrator, or you are simply curious about Linux, these commands will help you navigate files, inspect systems, and work faster and smarter from the terminal. So, fire up your terminal, get your fingers on the keyboard, and prepare to level up for your skills. I am Zulka, and you are watching the channel where cybersecurity, Linux, and ethical hacking comes to life. Let's dive in. Alright, now that you know what the terminal is, let's begin with one of the most important Linux commands you will ever learn, the ls command. In fact, if you are new to Linux, this might become the very first command you type every single day. Why? Because before you can work with files, move around files, or perform any cybersecurity tasks, you need to know what's inside your current location. And that's exactly what the ls command does. So the ls stands for list. When you run this command, Linux displays all the files and folders in your current directory. Think of it as opening a folder in Windows File Explorer, except you are doing it directly from the terminal like a Linux Pro. So let's head on to our terminal and punch in ls. After punching in ls, we are going to see all the files and folders contained in our file manager. But wait, this is just the beginning. Do you want more details? Then let's run the command ls-l. So back to our terminal, we punch in ls-l, and this is going to show us the file permissions, the file owner, the file size, and the date modified, and much more. This is extremely useful in Linux administrations and cybersecurity because permission tells you who can access a file. So back to our terminal, we run ls-l, and we are going to see the file permission. This is in the form of -rw-r-r-1, and then the owner and the group as well, which is Zulka. Then the size in the form of 9411082767, and then the date modified too as well. You can see the date modified. So like I repeated earlier, this is extremely useful in Linux administration and cybersecurity because permissions tell you who can access a file. Also, if you need to see everything inside a folder and its subfolders, then use ls-R. The R stands for recursive. Linux will display the current folder and everything beneath it. It is like getting a bird's eye view of an entire directory structure. But then you have to just be careful on large directories because they can produce massive outputs. Now, if you have ever seen file sizes displayed as strange numbers like 2048 or 1048576, ls-lh makes those sizes human readable form. So back to our terminal, we type in ls-lh, and instead of bytes, you will see values like 1.6k, 751 megabytes, and a lot of them, as you can see as displayed on the screen. If we want long format information plus hidden files, let's run ls-le. Now we are getting into one of the most commonly used commands among Linux users and cybersecurity professionals. So the hidden files, they usually begin with a dot. Back to our terminal, we punch in ls space LA, and then we hit enter, and there it is. So over here we're going to spot one hidden file as .android and a long format file as in black.spanta.2018.720p.dsnp and so on. If you are investing a Linux system, this command is pure gold for you. If you have ever wondered why some files seems to disappear in Linux, it's because they are hidden by default. ls-a reveals them instantly. This displays all files including hidden files. So back to our terminal, we punch in ls-a and there it is also. We are going to find some hidden files such as .android.bash_history, .bepsuite, .cache.config. So like I mentioned earlier, hidden files usually start with a dot in front of them. Now let's move on to the next must know Linux command. Now that we've mastered the ls command, let's move on to another command that every Linux beginner should know, the pwd command. pwd stands for print working directory. Sounds complicated, right? It's actually very simple. Whenever you open a terminal, you are located somewhere within the Linux file system. The pwd command tells you exactly where you are. For example, let's head on to our terminal and run the command pwd. And after running pwd, you're going to see something like /home/Zulka. This output means I'm currently inside the document folder of the username cyberzulka. Think of pwd as your GPS inside Linux. Whenever you get lost, pwd tells you your exact location. And trust me, when you are navigating through dozens of folders during a cybersecurity lab or project or Linux project, you will be glad that this command exists. Why is the pwd important? Imagine trying to create a file, move a folder, or run a script without knowing where you are. You could end up saving files in the wrong location or deleting some important ones. That is why experienced Linux users constantly check their location using pwd. So a real world example could be, let's go back to our terminal and run the command pwd space and space mkdir space vulnerabilities. So with this, we are going to create a file named vulnerabilities inside our file manager. So we click enter, and then we can see that a file named vulnerabilities was created. So to confirm this, we head on to our file manager, and then we head on to home. And in home, we are going to navigate and see the vulnerabilities file. So with this, before creating a folder, you can know that you can run pwd to confirm or to know your exact location. One of the most common combination of pwd in Linux is pwd followed by ls. This first checks where you are and then lists what's inside it. So for instance, let's head back to our terminal and type in pwd space and space ls. So like I mentioned earlier, this first checks where you are and then lists what's inside. So run enter. We are going to see exactly where we are, which is /home/Zulka, and then we can see all the files contained in the home folder. Next up, we have a command you'll use whenever you want to organize your files and projects. This is the mkdir command. mkdir stands for make directory. In simple terms, it creates a new folder. Think about it. Every project starts somewhere. Whether you are creating a folder for cybersecurity lab, programming project, notes, or assignments, the mkdir is the first command that gets the job done. So in our terminal, we run mkdir space cybersecurity. This command creates a folder called cybersecurity in your current location. So to verify this, we run ls and we hit enter, and right there we can see our cybersecurity folder in our current location. And just like that, you will see the new folder appears. You can also create multiple directories at once. Here is a cool trick many beginners don't know. You can create multiple folders with just a single command. Instead of creating them one by one, Linux can create all of them instantly. So back to our terminal, we type in mkdir space, let's say cybersec space attacks. So we type in attacks space defense. So this tells the terminal that we are coming to create 3 folders, which is what? Cybersec, attacks, and what? Defense. So we hit enter. And then in order to confirm this, we run ls. And then we hit enter. So after running ls, you realize that you have a folder called attacks, which is the first one. And then followed by, we can see the cybersec right there, and then defense folder too right there. This is the power of the command line. Let's also use the mkdir to create nested folders or nested directories. If I say nested directories, I mean a folder contained in another folder contained in another folder. So in order to do this, we punch in mkdir space -p. The P option allows Linux to create parent directories automatically. Take note. And then space, let's say cyber. Cyber here will be the name of the first folder. Then /Linux and /basics. So if cyber doesn't exist, Linux creates it. And if Linux doesn't exist, Linux creates it. And finally, it creates basics as well. So with just one command, only one command, and 3 folders are created. So in order to verify this, we head on to our file manager, and then from file manager we head on to home, and in the home we can see our folder here. We can see our cyber folder here. So we open it, and when we open it, we see a Linux folder again. Then we head on to open the Linux folder, and after opening it, we see the basics folder again. Do you want to create a folder with names in the folder name? So simply, we do this by what? Placing the name inside the quotation marks. So without the quotation marks, Linux will think you are trying to create multiple folders. So let's run this command on our terminal. So we're going to run mkdir space, let's say the name of the folder is going to be cybersecurity news. So in quotes, we have cyber space security space what? News, all in quotes. And then we run enter. So in order to confirm this, we run ls. And after running ls, you are going to see it right below here, cybersecurity news, with space in between the folder names. So after creating a folder, it is always a good habit to run ls and confirm that it exists. If you are studying cybersecurity, you can organize your work by creating separate folders for reconnaissance, scanning, exploitation, and what? Reporting. Good organization makes you more productive and more professional. Now that we've learned how to create directories, let's move on to the command that allows us to move into those directories, the powerful command, the cd command. Now that we have created directories using the mkdir command, the next logic step is to learn how to move into them. That's where the cd command comes in. So in our terminal, we run cd. Cd stands for what? Change directory. So this simply allows you to move from one directory to another within the Linux file system. Think of it like opening a folder in a file explorer, but instead of clicking, you are typing commands. So cd, let's run cd space cyber. So this command moves me into the cyber folder. But wait, how do I know I'm inside the cyber folder? This is easy. We use the pwd command as discussed earlier. So we run pwd, and right there we can see what? We can see /home/Zulka cyber. Notice how my current location changed. That is how you confirm you successfully entered a directory. Now, someone may ask, what if you want to go back? This is quite simple. So we use the cd space dot dot. The two dots represent the parent directory. So it's like clicking the back button in a file explorer. So for example, as we are in the home, as we are in this /home /Zulka /cyber. So after running cd space dot dot, you are going to see something like home /Zulka. We also have something called the absolute path. This is like specifying your complete location you want to go. So no matter where you are, Linux knows exactly where to take you to. So we'll do this by running cd space /home /Zulka /cyber. This takes us to the cyber folder straightforward. And also, suppose you are already inside, let's say /home /Zulka, you can simply type something like cd cyber, and automatically this will also take you to the cyber folder. This is called a relative path too, because it's based on your current location. It's shorter and often much faster to type. So here is a workflow you use all the time. So first check where you are with pwd. Then next, list the available folders using the ls. And then change into the one you want using the cd. Finally, run pwd again to confirm your new location. This simple routine will help you navigate Linux with confidence. Now, we're about to learn one of the most powerful commands, and also is one of the most important commands in Linux. This is the sudo command. The sudo stands for super user do. In simple terms, it allows you to execute commands with administrator or root privileges. Think of it this way. As a regular user, Linux restricts certain actions to protect your systems. But when you use sudo, you are telling Linux that I understand what I am doing. Execute this command with root privileges. So before using sudo, let's see who we are. Let's type in who am I. So the who am I command tells us the current logged in user. In this case, I am logged in as Zulka, not the root user. So here's one of the most common uses of sudo apt update. Because this affects the entire system, Linux requires administrator privileges. So when you run it, you'll be prompted to enter your password. So as you type your password, nothing appears on the screen, not even asterisk. Don't worry, that's normal. Linux is simply protecting your password from anyone looking over your shoulder. So we punch in our password and we hit enter. And then you wait patiently for it to update your packages list. So this is going to vary depending on your network or internet connectivity speed. Also, we can also install software with sudo. So we can do that by running sudo space apt space install space the name of the software we want to install. So let's say you need to install a tool like nmap. So you simply add sudo before the command. Without sudo, Linux will most likely deny permission. Also, removing software, we can do that with sudo. That is to say sudo space apt space remove space nmap. Sudo is also used when removing software from Linux system because this action requires administrative access. Now, let's run a command as root. So we run sudo space who am I. Then we hit enter. and we can see root. So here you have to note the difference. Earlier when we ran who am I, the return was what? Cyber Zulka. And now with sudo, the same command returns what? Root. That's because the command was executed with what? Root privileges. But take note, here is a word of caution. Sudo is incredibly powerful. With great power comes great responsibility. A single incorrect command can delete important files or even make your system unbootable. For example, if you run sudo space rm space important_file.txt, this command can delete an entire important file and make your system unbootable. So you have to always be careful. And if you are using sudo, always double check the command before pressing enter. In Linux, some actions can't be undone. Mastering sudo is an important step towards becoming a confident Linux user and a cybersecurity professional. Moving on to our cif command, we have one of the most simplest yet useful commands in Linux. This is also the touch command. The touch simply or primarily is used to create a new empty file directly from the terminal. So instead of opening a text editor and clicking new file, you can create one instantly with a single command. So let's run touch space notes.txt. So this command creates an empty file called notes.txt. So you might be wondering, what does the .txt mean? The .txt part is called a file extension. A file extension tells both Linux and other operating systems what type of file it is. So in this case, .txt stands for what? Text file. So in order to view this, we run ls and we hit enter. Then we are going to see notes.txt. So it is a plain file. Node.txt is a plain file or a plain text file that can store notes, messages, or any simple text without special formatting. So think of the extension as the file's identity. It tells you what kind of file you are working with. Touch can also create many different types of files. For example, .txt is a plain text file. .shs is a shell script. .sh is a shell script used to automate Linux command. .html is used to build web pages. .css is used to style websites by controlling colors, font, and layout. And then .py is also a Python program commonly used for scripting, automation, and cybersecurity tools. So the extension doesn't create the content, it simply tells you what type of file you are creating. Welcome to command number 7 in our top 10 Linux commands for beginners. So far, we've learned how to create files using the touch command. But if you want to make a copy of a file without changing the original, that's where the cp command comes in. The cp stands for what? Copy. As the name suggests, it creates a duplicate of a file or directory, leaving the original untouched. Think of it like making a photocopy of an important document. You still have the original, but now you have an extra copy to work with. So let's head on to our terminal and run cp. Let's say we're going to copy note.txt. So we run cp space note.txt space backup.txt. So this command copies note.txt and creates a new file called backup.txt. Now you have two separate files. Editing one won't affect the other. So to verify this, we run the ls command. If we list the content of the directory, we will see both note.txt and backup.txt. That's how you can confirm the copy was successful. Now, supposing you want to keep your file in another folder, simply specify the destination directory. So let's say you want to copy the note.txt into the cyber folder. So In the terminal, we run cp space note.txt space what? Cyber. And mind you need to add the underscore. Sorry, you need to add the /. So Linux is going to copy the file, the node.txt file, into the what? The cyber folder, while keeping the original file exactly where it is. You can also copy multiple folders, or you can also copy multiple files at once. Here, all the 3 files are going to be copied into, let's say, the cyber folder with just a single command. So to do this, let's say we run cp report.txt, note.txt, tags.txt, sorry, then space cyber. Cyber here is the name of the folder or the directory we want to keep all these files into. Then we add our / and we hit enter. And in order to confirm this, we run the ls. After running ls, we're going to realize that there's a highlighted folder here, which is what? The cyber. So this highlighted folder, it contains what? The node.txt, the report.txt, and also what? The tags.txt, sorry. Let's also say we want to copy an entire folder. That's where the -r option comes in. The -r stands for what? Recursive. It tells Linux to copy the directory along with everything inside it, including all files and what? Subdirectories. So in our terminal, we run cp space -r and with our folder cyber. So this is one of the most useful options when backing up projects. Also, here's another useful option, the interactive copy. So with that one to run, let's say cp space -i space note.txt space backup.txt. So this is like, if backup.txt already exists, then Linux will ask for confirmation before overwriting. So this help prevents accidental data loss. So imagine you have just completed an assignment or cybersecurity report. Before making any changes, you can create a backup copy. That way, if something goes wrong, you still have the original version safely stored. So the cp command is one you will usually use regularly for backups, organizing files, and what? Protecting your important works. Next up is the simplest but most powerful Linux command. This is the command 8, and this is the cat command. The name stands for concatenate, but in real usage, it is used to display and read file content directly in the terminal. In cybersecurity, this is one of the first commands used after gaining access to a system, because you can change anything you need to see. What's inside. So we head on to our terminal and we run the command. Let's say cat space table.html, and then this instantly prints everything inside the table.html file. So as we can see on our screen, we can see table row, column, and all those things inside there. These are the content. Someone may ask, why do hackers use cat? Yes, this is so because after gaining access to a system, attackers often use this cat command to read configuration files, view system logs, search for stored credentials or sensitive data, and even understand how the system is structured. It is simple, but it reveals information very fast. We have our second to last command, which is the man command. And this one separates what? Beginners from real Linux users. The word man stands for what? Manual. So it opens the built-in documentation for almost every Linux command. So instead of guessing how a command works, Linux literally explains it to you. So back to our terminal, we punch in or we run the command man space ls. This opens a full guide for the ls command, including all options, flags and usage examples. So why do hackers and cybersecurity pros use the man command? So you realize that when working with unfamiliar systems, you won't always have to Google. So they can use man to what? Learn new commands quickly, understand hidden options in tools, explore new system utilities without leaving the terminal. So it is basically the built-in hackers encyclopedia. Finally, we have the last command, which is the clear command. This command, it cleans the terminal. This one is simple but very powerful tool for presentation and workflow. So it completely clears everything on your terminal. So in our terminal, let's run the clear command. Once you run it, the terminal looks brand new, like nothing ever happened. So in real cybersecurity work, terminal gets filled with logs, scans and output very quickly. So professionals use clear to remove clutter from the screen, focus on new commands, reset the workspace visually, and also maintain clean workflow during investigations. It doesn't delete data, it just clears the view. So in most hacking movies, it looks like systems are clean and organized, but in real life, it is chaos. Clear is what makes the chaos manageable. And that was just a wrap of the 10 powerful Linux commands. So from navigating systems to reading files to controlling permissions, you have just taken your first real step into how Linux actually works and behind the scenes. But remember, knowing the commands is just the beginning. Mastery comes from practice and consistency. If you enjoyed this video, don't watch and leave it here. Subscribe to Zulka for more cybersecurity content, Linux and hacking fundamentals, which shall be made simple for you guys. Also, like this video if you want more beginner-friendly cyber breakdowns. And also comment as well. Tell me which command surprises you the most or what you want next, and don't forget to share this with someone who is starting their cybersecurity journey. Stay curious, stay consistent, and keep building your skill, because in cybersecurity, knowledge is your strongest weapon. See you in the next video.